The meeting did not end with agreement. It ended with urgency. The L3 had delivered the message and expected reaction patterns they had seen in other civilizations.
Panic.
Fragmentation. Mass evacuation attempts. Power consolidation. Instead, Earth did something different again. It started planning. Not as one unified empire. Not as a single command structure, but as a coordinated swarm of problem solvers. Within hours, Earth's response systems split into working groups. Defense engineering, evacuation strategy, alien technology study, civilian infrastructure hardening, off-world expansion planning, and, unofficially labeled but heavily attended, people who just refused to lose. The collectors were still 21 years away. Humans treated it like 21 minutes. Factories that once competed for markets were nationalized temporarily and then immediately networked globally. Scientists who had never met shared equations in real time. Former rival states signed emergency tech-sharing treaties within a single night. And for the first time, humanity stopped arguing about who was right and started asking what worked. The L3 observed quietly. One of them finally spoke to Earth's delegation. "You are not afraid." A human engineer didn't look up from his data pad. "We are," he said. A pause. "But we don't function well when we're frozen." That sentence was recorded and archived across 300 civilizations, because it explained something no empire had ever understood. Humans did not wait for fear to disappear before acting. They acted through fear. Weeks passed, then months. Humanity pushed outward faster than ever before. Mining colonies expanded. Asteroid belts were fortified. Relay stations multiplied like seeds. But the most surprising change was internal. Earth's wars did not resume. Not because differences vanished, but because priorities shifted. Old conflicts became small in comparison. One diplomat summarized it. "We can argue later. Survival first." And somehow that worked. The collector's approach became visible at the edge of known space. Not a fleet, a line, a perfect, expanding geometric front. Systems it touched disappeared from sensors instantly. No debris, no radiation, no warning broadcasts, just absence. The galaxy began to panic again. Entire civilizations prepared evacuation fleets. Some fled into unknown space. Some surrendered immediately. Some collapsed under internal conflict before the enemy even arrived. And Earth did something unexpected. It moved toward the front line. The decision shocked the Council. "Why are you advancing?" they demanded. A human admiral responded simply, "Because waiting makes us worse at this." The L3 observed the movement closely. "This is not logical survival behavior," one of them said. Another replied, "It is not logic. It is momentum." Humanity built a forward defense lattice. Not a wall, a net. Ships positioned in layered formations. Civilian vessels embedded behind defense corridors. Automated drones acting as early interception signals. And behind all of it, Earth itself. The collectors arrived at the first human-held system. The silence broke. For the first time, the enemy spoke. Not in language, in structure. A signal that tried to rewrite nearby matter. Human systems strained instantly. One scientist shouted, "They're not communicating, they're compiling reality." And then Earth responded. Not with one voice, with millions. Every transmitter, every satellite, every ship, every hacked collector fragment they had studied for years. All speaking at once. Not perfectly, not uniformly, but loudly enough to break the pattern. The collectors paused. For the first time in recorded history, their advance slowed. The L3 watched the data. "You are disrupting their structure," they said quietly. A human commander nodded. "We're bad at harmony," she said, "but we're excellent at noise." Across the battlefield, human fleets surged forward. Not neatly, not cleanly, but unpredictably. And unpredictability was something the collectors had never encountered before. Because you cannot delete what you cannot model. Earth's ships broke formation intentionally. Some sacrificed themselves to create openings. Some retreated and returned from unexpected vectors. Some simply acted irrationally and still succeeded. The collector's line finally fractured. A single gap appeared, and humanity poured through it, not as conquerors, but as something the galaxy had not fully understood yet. Survivors who refused to be categorized. The L3 transmitted a final message to Earth. You are not the strongest species we have observed. A pause. But you may be the hardest to erase. The gap did not stay open for long. The collectors reacted. Not emotionally, not strategically, but structurally. The fractured line began to correct itself, like reality snapping back into place after being bent. Entire human formations that had pushed forward suddenly lost navigation locks. Some ships found their coordinates rewritten mid-flight. Others detected their own weapon systems refusing to fire, as if the universe itself had imposed restrictions. It was not sabotage in the normal sense. It was overriding. A collector wave passed through a human-held system, and for a brief moment, everything felt wrong, like physics had been edited. On one bridge, a young officer shouted, "We're losing our systems." An engineer replied without looking up, "No, we're being redefined." That sentence chilled everyone who heard it, because it meant the enemy wasn't just stronger. It was operating on a layer below normal understanding. The L3 stepped closer to Earth's command station projection. Their tone had changed. "This is what we feared," they said. A human admiral didn't look away from the battlefield map. "Then tell us how to stop it." The L3 paused. "We cannot." A silence hit the room like gravity increasing. Then the L3 continued. "Not alone." Across Earth, something unusual happened next. Not a military order. Not a government directive. A message broadcast globally from every major network, translated into every language simultaneously. It was short, clear, human. "We need everyone." Factories stopped producing civilian luxuries and shifted entirely. Private companies donated fleets without compensation demands. Space agencies opened classified projects. Even independent groups, hackers, engineers, hobbyists, were given access to defense networks. One engineer said it best while wiring an improvised relay. "We're not being recruited. We're being assembled." And humanity assembled itself. The collectors pushed deeper. Systems fell one after another. But now something changed in human behavior. Instead of reacting, they anticipated. Instead of defending, they redirected. Instead of holding ground, they reshaped the battlefield. A collector advance entered a region that should have been empty. Instead, it found layered traps of energy distortions, decoy signals, and abandoned ships broadcasting false structural data. The collector logic hesitated again. A second delay. Longer than the first. On Earth, analysts noticed immediately. "They're slowing down," one whispered. Another replied, "We're making them think too much." And then came the breakthrough no one expected. A civilian linguist working from a university basement on Earth noticed a pattern in collector structural signals. Not language, not code, but repetition cycles. She called command in a panic. "They're not thinking, they're stabilizing through repetition." At first, no one understood. Then a physicist realized the implication. "If we disrupt repetition," he said slowly, "we disrupt their existence." That was the moment humanity changed tactics again. Not brute force. Not defense. Interference. Every available transmitter began broadcasting chaotic, shifting, non-repeating signal structures. Music. Noise. Mathematical randomness. Human voices arguing, laughing, shouting. Emergency signals layered with jokes and static. The galaxy thought Earth had gone insane. The L3 watched carefully. "No," one of them said. "They are introducing controlled instability." The collector advance slowed again. Then something unprecedented happened. A section of the collector front misaligned. Just slightly, but enough. A fracture formed not in space, but in structure. For the first time, the collectors did not advance. They corrected. And then corrected again. And again. Humanity had forced them into adaptation loops. The L3 spoke quietly. "If they must continuously adjust." A human scientist finished the sentence. "Then they can't move forward." Across the battlefield, Hope sparked. Not victory. Not yet. But something more important. A possibility. And somewhere deep in the collector formation, for the first time since their arrival in known space, they paused without immediate correction. And the universe held its breath. The pause lasted exactly 4.7 seconds. In cosmic terms, it was nothing. In war terms, it was everything. Humanity noticed it first. Every sensor network across Earth and allied worlds flickered at the same moment. Not an attack. Not a collapse. A hesitation. One human analyst leaned forward and whispered, "They stopped correcting." That sentence spread faster than any alarm. Because if the collectors stopped correcting, it meant their system had encountered something it couldn't immediately resolve. The L3 moved closer to the projection again. Their tone had shifted into something almost like disbelief. "They are experiencing uncertainty," one of them said. A human commander didn't look away from the front line. "So are we," she replied. And that was the difference. Humans functioned inside uncertainty. The collectors struggled to function with it. Across the fractured battlefield, human strategy shifted one more time. Not aggression. Not defense. Exploration. Small probe fleets pushed into the edges of collector formations, not to destroy, but to observe reactions. Every action became an experiment. Every encounter became data. Every battlefield became a laboratory. A mining captain transmitted a simple message before entering a high-risk zone. "Let's see what breaks them faster, us or them." Within hours, results came back. The collectors responded strongly to predictable patterns. They stabilized around repetition. They corrected faster when faced with symmetry. But they struggled with contradiction. One fleet moved in perfect formation, then suddenly broke into chaotic scattering without warning. Another pretended to retreat, then reversed course mid-collapse. A third transmitted false structural data, then changed it live during collector assimilation. Each contradiction created delay. Each delay created weakness. Each weakness created opportunity. The L3 finally spoke what no one else dared say. "You are not defeating them with force." A human scientist nodded. "We never were." The L3 continued. "You are teaching them something they were never designed to process." A pause. Change without resolution. That line was immediately flagged for preservation across galactic archives. Because it described humanity itself. The collectors attempted adaptation. They expanded correction systems, increased structural redundancy, accelerated response loops. But every improvement made them more sensitive to disruption. And humanity only became better at disrupting things. Then came the turning point at System Viral. A critical collector node, the largest yet encountered, entered human-controlled space. If it stabilized there, the war would tilt permanently. Entire civilizations watched in silence. Earth issued no grand announcement, no heroic speech, just a single coordinated operation. Across hundreds of ships, humans executed a plan that looked like chaos from the outside. No synchronized timing, no uniform movement, no consistent formations. To the collectors, it should have been easy to process. But it wasn't, because nothing matched long enough to classify. Every time the collectors began stabilizing a model, it changed. And changed again. And again. At the center of it all, a single human signal repeated. Not a command. Not a code. Just a phrase transmitted in dozens of languages. "Try again." The collector node slowed. Then slowed further. For the first time since entering known space. It did not advance. It recomputed. And that was the moment the L3 understood fully. "They are not fighting the collectors," one of them said quietly. "They are exhausting their ability to decide." Across the battlefield, humanity held position. Not winning, not losing, just forcing the enemy to think forever. And somewhere deep in the collector structure, a new signal appeared for the first time. Not correction, not expansion, but something dangerously close to inquiry. A question. And the universe, once again, did not know what would happen next. The end. If you would like to see the next part, please kindly leave a comment saying Part 2, and also consider liking the video. Like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed the story or tell me any mistakes I should fix.